Hello and welcome to Gen X A to Z, I'm John. In this series we're looking at the top toys and games of Generation X, and in this episode, R is for Rubik's Cube. Some toys and games are memorable, but few can count themselves as one of the most iconic symbols of their era, like the Rubik's Cube. Anytime you see references to the 80s, the Rubik's Cube is right up there with boomboxes, Pac-Man, and cassette tapes. Among the toys that came out of Generation X, few can boast the relevance and staying power of this unassuming little puzzle. The Rubik's Cube was invented in 1974 by Hungarian sculptor and professor of architecture Erno Rubik. Originally called the Magic Cube, it was never meant to be a toy at all. Rubik built the cube as a teaching tool to help his students understand 3D objects and the structural problem of moving the parts while keeping the mechanism intact. It wasn't long, though, before its value as a puzzle toy became evident, and after first being produced in late 1977 for Budapest toy shops, Rubik eventually licensed it to be sold worldwide by the Ideal Toy Corporation in 1980. And as a toy, it seems simple enough. After being scrambled, match up the 9 same-colored pieces on each of the 6 sides by twisting any of the cube's faces. But that obvious approachability is soon shattered when you learn there are more than 43 quintillion different combinations. 43 quintillion! Yet it always somehow seems that you're close to cracking the code. And everyone in the early 80s had at least one, if not more, Rubik's Cubes that we just couldn't put down. It was the thinking nerd's fidget spinner. In 1980, I was a big, clumsy, nerdy 11-year-old, and like everyone else, I was captivated by the Rubik's Cube. But unlike everyone else, I was determined to solve it. So with my own money, I bought a book from which I learned all the patterns and algorithms, and I got good at it. That one skill, to solve the cube, truly little more than pattern recognition and memorization, made me a minor celebrity at my middle school. Anonymous no more, I was now that kid who could solve it without removing the stickers. Fellow students would pass me their cube between classes, and I'd return it to them at the next bell, magically restored. That feeling of relevance and acceptance I got from being able to solve the Rubik's Cube helped to pull me out of my adolescent shell, and it's a debt I can never repay, that inanimate little puzzle. Since its international launch in 1980, roughly 400 million Rubik's Cubes have been sold. It's estimated that 1 out of every 7 people on the planet has had their hands on Erno Rubik's invention, though it's worth noting that substantially fewer are able to solve it. Since its first release nearly 40 years ago, the Rubik's Cube hasn't faded. Today, you can still walk into any toy store, department store, or even your corner pharmacy and find Rubik's Cube still on the shelf. And that's why R is for Rubik's Cube. Don't miss the rest of this A to Z series. Click right here to subscribe and enable those notifications. Use the comments down below to tell us what you think, and while you're there, a thumbs up would be great too. Please share this online wherever you hang out, and connect with GXG on social networks by clicking right here.